before, the king of Christmas, and now Joel Siegel.
This is a story about a song and a singer. To tell it, we've got to bring back some ghosts of Christmases past, when the song was on every radio station, every jukebox, almost every record player in America. The singer earned thousands of dollars a week entertaining at nightclubs and hotels, but when he needed a place to stay, there was no room at the inn.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose.
More than 50 years later, the imagery, the melody, that voice as smooth as crushed velvet. As much as Santa Claus sliding down a chimney or Jack Frost nipping at your nose tells us it's Christmas.
A turkey and some mistletoe.
Nat's daughter, singer Natalie Cole.
That song,
To make the season
growing up, Christmas time at home, that was one song that we did hear a lot of, and I always loved that
with
song,
their
always.
eyes all aglow, will find it hard to sleep.
One of the most recorded songs of all time. Jazz great Mel Torme thought Nat King Cole's was absolutely the best version, and he wrote the song on the hottest day of the year. I asked Torme about the Christmas song in an interview 5 years ago. He told me he found the words on lyricist Bob Wells' piano.
And I said, Bob, what's this? He said, I can't cool off today, I'm so hot. And he said, I wrote those words as an experiment to see if just looking at them and absorbing them would cool me off. I said, maybe this is a song. And Bob Wells actually went, no, come on. You know. 40 minutes later, that song was written.
40 minutes
40 minutes later.
Mel Torme and Robert Wells played in the song, and he loved it. He loved it. And he took it back to New York, and he wanted to record it right away, but he wanted strings. He wanted a large orchestral sound.
Nat King Cole got his strings, but Daniel Mark Epstein, in a new biography of Cole, says there's another reason for the song's success.
Nat was in love when he recorded it. Maybe some of the warmth and the sentiment that comes through in those great recordings has something to do with his being in love with Maria.
Well, so I've heard that. I like to think that. It's wonderful.
This can't be love.
Maria Cole, then Marie Ellington, a band singer. The first time Nat saw her, he was backstage, she was on stage. She had no idea who he was. He had nothing but ideas. He told a buddy, if that singer looks as good from the front as she does from behind.
Yeah, I didn't even know who they were, truthfully. My sister was a big King Cole Trio fan, so when I went home and told her I'd met him, so she said, you don't know who that is? You know, but I didn't at the time.
She soon found out, and Nat soon proposed marriage.
And his exact words were, if I can get my divorce, will you marry me? And I remember distinctly chewing a lamb chop, and I did this.
There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy.
Nat became second only to Frank Sinatra on the American pop charts. His new ballad, Nature Boy, made him an international star as well. Nat and Maria were married on Easter Sunday, 1948, by Congressman Adam Clayton Powell, Jr. at his Abyssinian Baptist Church in the heart of Harlem. Nat and Maria said, I do. But 50 years later, we are still shocked at the people who said, you don't. Not here.
Even when she was a little girl, Maria Cole dreamt of getting married here at the Waldorf Astoria on New York's Park Avenue. Two of her friends, both white, tried to rent the ballroom, but the manager said no when he found out it was for Nat King Cole. Walking out, one of the friends threw a tantrum when he saw a man in Middle Eastern robes, probably with the new United Nations, walking a live goat on a leash through the lobby. That was okay, but it wasn't okay for Nat King Cole to get married here.
The symptoms may have shown in his chain smoking, his nail biting, the bleeding ulcer he developed. But the acid that seethed beneath the surface never broke through Cole's casual and smooth persona. Eden Abes, who wrote Nature Boy, was an LA hermit who actually lived underneath the second L in the Hollywood sign. Nobody tried to move him out. Nat and Maria bought this house in LA's exclusive Hancock Park. and nobody welcomed them in.
So many of those same people who may not have wanted him next door talk about how much they loved him. You know, so it's a funny little contradiction.
Neighbors told him, quote, "We formed an undesirable neighbors committee."
And he said, I agree with you, and I'll be the first one to complain when an undesirable moves in here. This actually happened.
He knew exactly what they meant, but rather than responding in any negative way, he played along with it. You know, he probably knew that they were dying, you know, that some black folks had moved into this neighborhood, and what are we gonna do now, you know?
This was one of the best neighborhoods in Los Angeles. Their neighbors were professional people, attorneys, physicians, old LA oil money. Still, someone fired a gun through the Coles' window, and someone poisoned one of their dogs.
We found our dog out there who had been a housewarming gift, and we had named him Mr. Cole. He was a boxer, and we loved him. And that was very hard, very hard.
He's always being shoved down, shoved down, shoved down. And to get that big was very difficult in those times.
Guitar pioneer Les Paul first met Nat King Cole in 1932. They played together, but they couldn't stay together.
Nat says, well, I'll see you later. And I said, well, aren't you going into the check-in in the hotel? He says, oh, no, I can't stay at the hotel. I said, but you're playing here. He says, it makes no difference. I have to stay over there.
He played Vegas a lot, and I remember my particular experience with him was we did not stay at the hotel. We stayed in a motel because we were not allowed to stay in the hotel.
And you remember that? This was in your
I do remember
memory.
that I don't remember what the reason was, but I do remember that's where we stayed.
Because they didn't tell you the reason.
Right.
And he didn't think of taking his family on his road tour through the South. In Birmingham, he was actually attacked on stage by members of the White Citizens Council. The attack made headlines, and so did Nat King Cole's calm response.
Do you expect any more trouble? Oh, no, I don't think so. I think this is one out of a million. I don't think that a thing where it would turn out to be a continuous thing. The only thing, we just couldn't take a chance on continuing there last night because you never can tell, a lot of innocent people might have gotten hurt.
He said fear never went through him. That's the way he was. That's just the way. It could have been something not as important as that. That's just the kind of temperament Nat had.
He really didn't express himself a lot in the negative, you know, or frustrating things or things that might have made him anxious, or, you know, that just wasn't his nature.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Nat King Cole Show with tonight's special guest, Frankie Lane.